looking at me. I'm looking back.
Hi, how are you? Welcome back to our channel. I hope you're having a wonderful day so far.
Today we're doing another video in our Women Empowerment series where we showcase and highlight different women's professions and give you the inside scoop on them.
So I'm very proud to welcome a closest friend of mine, Miss Amy Harman. She is a school counselor and she's been in this profession for some time, and I wanted to highlight this profession because it is so close to my heart. This is a profession which is so important to a school system wherein they intervene and make sure a child's mental health is taken care of. So please join me to welcome Miss Amy Harman.
Thank you for having me.
Of course, we appreciate you coming here.
So you're a 6th grade counselor now, right?
Yes, 6th grade.
So tell us a little bit about your background. How did you actually get into being in this profession?
Sure. So I started as a teacher 21 years ago, and after 15 years in the classroom, I made the transition to school counselor. This will be my 6th year. I realized while I was teaching that so much of what I was wanting to know of my students and do with them had more to do with their lives and what they needed as opposed to just the algebra. So I made the transition to school counselor and I loved it.
So do you have to do some different courses to get accepted into the counselor role?
Yes, so I had to have, I got my master's in school counseling, and I took many courses that focused on small group counseling, individual counseling, theories of counseling. We focused a lot on school counseling and what a school counselor does and what our role is in the school. And then I did have to get my master's degree, and then after I graduated, I also had to become certified through the state of Texas.
Oh, wow. Okay. So is this like an in-room school, or is it online? How do you actually go about it? I mean, our viewers might want to know if they are interested in a profession like this,
Yes.
how would they actually go about it? I mean, you took a different turn where you were already a teacher, and then you did your master's and then got into this. But if a viewer had to get into being a school counselor, because this is a very interesting profession to be in, how would they do it?
Sure. Well, in the state of Texas, you have to have 2 or 3 years as a classroom teacher. So you already have your bachelor's degree. And then you need to find a program that fits your lifestyle, location, that kind of thing. They offer in person. Several schools in our area, Texas State has one where you would go in person and take classes traditionally. Now there are many, many online schools as well in Texas. I chose the route of online through Lamar University because Addison, my daughter, was little bitty, and I didn't have the ability to leave the home for so many extra hours a week. So I was able to do that online. And then I did an internship at Styles.
Oh, wow. So was this course very expensive to do?
It cost about $28,000.
Oh, wow.
In the end, about $28,000. And you can take student loans out to pay for it.
Okay.
And then in the end, it's worth it because then you increase your yearly salary by more. So.
Yeah.
So I remember you mentioned about an internship. I know you said you took an internship at Styles, but how come you ended up starting off in an elementary school counselor?
Sure. So Addison was starting kinder. I never thought I would want to go to an elementary school. I didn't know that I would enjoy it so much. But I had interviewed, and that principal took a chance on me, and I got to go with Addison to kindergarten, and I ended up loving it.
That's wonderful, right?
It was the biggest blessing for our family. So going to elementary, getting to be with her, and then learning about just the needs of kids at elementary. All of my time as a middle school teacher, I never really understood the paths that so many of our kids and families have taken before they got to me in 8th grade. And I think elementary was critical in my understanding of child development and how to really look at what really might be going on with the child. So I'm so grateful for that.
Now I know recently, last year, you went to middle school and you started off as a general counselor, but now you're a 6th grade counselor. I know the way it works in our middle school is that every year you move up a grade.
Yes.
Is that something you like, that you are stuck with like a definite group of students?
I am so excited to welcome my own group of kids, and I'm so lucky that I got to go in with 6th graders. So I will have this group of kids to really get to know over the next 3 years, build those relationships. I think that one of the biggest, my job is to help support and find resources and connect kids. By having the same core group for the full 3 years, I get to really build those relationships and help kids more.
So how is it different from elementary school? Being a counselor, how is it different?
Sure. I feel in elementary, I was there to serve the whole school, all grades. And kinder is very different from 5th grade. Their needs are different. I feel that at elementary, my role was more focused on helping identify where there might be issues working with families and then growing those kids. I did a lot in classroom whole group, as opposed to in middle school I meet with kids a lot more individually.
Okay, and what are your hours in school like? Because I know with teachers you guys have to get there really early, leave really late, but like especially with COVID going on and online school, how has that affected being a counselor and your hours?
Sure. So in the spring when we all went home, we were all home. We still worked our same hours. I found during that time I worked a lot, like at night too, because my office was in my home. I think that now we return to school tomorrow. Some kids will be back. We will go. I'll be in the building from at least 7:30 to 4. I think it'll be very different now to have kids again, some there, and I'll have some kids virtually still. So trying to balance reaching all of them.
And how are like the counseling services over online? Because I know we've done 3 weeks already of online school and a few more at the beginning of the year. How is it different than being an in-person counselor?
Sure. I feel like with virtual learning and kids that are home, a lot of my connections are either done through classrooms when I've gotten to go in with their advisory periods, whole group, but then I feel also through families a lot more. I'm connecting with kids through their families, with their parents, where at school, kids can just come down to my office or see me in the hall. I feel I'm a lot more accessible at school to kids.
So, as when you were in elementary school, what was the actual role? What did you really do? I mean, I know you counsel kids when they were in trouble or they created trouble in class, but I know there's a lot more to it than that. And there's special programs in school that you were involved in, right? Could you tell us a little bit about that?
Sure. As a school counselor in general, you are to have a comprehensive school counseling program. And this comprehensive school counseling program reaches all kids. And how do you do that? Well, the biggest way is being out there and being visible and connecting. And then you zoom in a little and you go into classrooms and you connect with kids through classrooms. I would also pull small groups of kids, and then we'd get down to the individual. But the hope is if with a comprehensive counseling program, those individual ones those sessions aren't as needed as when you, I guess I try to be proactive, right? I was part of the RTI, which is response to intervention. At times I was a 504 coordinator, so helping kids who had identified disabilities access their education. I worked closely with families as they determined that their kiddo might need extra help. I worked closely with teachers, attended lots of meetings. And then when I wasn't doing all of those things, I was just visible and going into lunches and recesses and out in the halls to just try to connect with kids.
So what are all the programs that are offered in schools in the US for example, special needs? There's kids with dyslexia, there are kids with learning disabilities, they might have ADHD. So what are the programs that cover all of these disabilities in children?
Sure, so there's special education that allows for kids to access their education.
Is that SPED?
That is special education.
Okay.
And if they qualify, then they can receive services through special education.
Okay.
And then there's 504 and the Americans with Disabilities Act, and that allows for accommodations in the school to help them. It could be something as simple as just frequent breaks, or it may be typing, like if the child struggles with writing. So there's just different accommodations, and it's to meet the unique needs of each kid.
So I have a question pertaining to this in terms of special education or 504, kids with ADHD, for example, I know ADHD is highly diagnosed in the US. It's overdiagnosed rather. Kids get, if a child is being difficult, they get diagnosed with ADHD. So how do you streamline in a school to make sure the kids who actually need it get it instead of just parents who have difficult children?
So we don't diagnose in the
Okay.
schools. So diagnosis, ADHD is a medical diagnosis, and that's from the doctors, or neurologist, or however. So we don't actually diagnose. It would be a family bringing the paperwork to the school. And we have children that do have ADHD that don't need accommodations at all. And then we have children with anything that may need, whatever it is, if it impacts their life, then so the school doesn't diagnose it.
What is the most fun part of your job?
Oh, connecting with kids.
What
Connecting with kids.
what is your most disliked part of your job?
Probably sitting in front of the computer, like doing paperwork and stuff.
It seems the hours that counselors and teachers work are extraordinarily long, because not only do they are in school during the time of say 7, which is really early in the morning, till 4, they seem to be working after hours as well. So where is that line that you draw that, okay, this is the line that I'm not going to work beyond this, and this is my family time? How do you draw that line?
So I'm working on that. I have high goals for this year, self-care and work-life balance. So like today, I can say that tomorrow we'll leave school at 4 with my daughter. I don't know if it'll happen, being purposeful. The reality is during the day, we're always going to work hard to meet the needs of kids as they come up. And if that means we're spending our time working and connecting with kids, that's what we're going to be doing. And if the follow-up stuff has to happen at night, that's when it happens. Some people may not agree with that. But that's just how I've always been.
And what's your favorite age group of students to work with? I know you've been through elementary, now you're in middle school, so what's your absolute favorite age group?
So that I can say wholeheartedly, I really love all the way down to the little bitties in ELE, all the way up to 8th grade. They all have such unique things that define that age group. They're just all so fun. I love the awe and wonder in the littler ones. I love that even with 3rd, 4th, 5th, when they start to get cool, you can still go and do neat, silly things with them and engage them. And even in middle school.
And you regret being a math teacher before you became a counselor? Do you wish you just became a counselor first?
Nope. I loved teaching. I think being a teacher before becoming a school counselor gives me a really good view of what's going on. I understand what a kiddo's day to day is like. And I wonder if maybe that's one of the reasons they make school counselors in Texas be teachers first. I
think that's a fabulous idea.
Do you ever see kids again and again, even after you talk to them?
Sometimes there are kids that need more support, and if I'm able to offer that, I absolutely do. I have some kids who just sometimes need to come visit a little bit more.
So you meet kids from different socioeconomic backgrounds. Are there any specific problems or difficulties that you face with certain kids where they are not as challenged or not as heard in their families?
Oh, sure. There are definitely, or maybe kiddos perceive that they aren't. I think in the world we live in right now with a lot of families, very busy, so much going on. Sometimes their paths at home just sometimes don't even overlap, So sometimes it's hard, if a kiddo has a very busy family that maybe they just don't feel like they have that time at home.
Do you have any special requirements
For
kids or when teachers come into your room?
Oh, sure. So, no, I have an open door policy. If my door is open, kids can come in, teachers can come in, parents can come in. So, no requirements.
Do you like working with kids?
Love it. I don't like adults nearly as much as kids. So,
But does it not tire you mentally having everybody who comes to you be so needy?
sometimes like emotional fatigue, when people or kids have a lot of really rough stuff going on, how do you leave that
Exactly.
and then be able to go home? And I think I've learned that hard things are going to happen, and my job is to help support and guide the best I can. And at the end of the day, if I've done the absolute best that I could for them,
Yeah.
then I'm okay with that.
Well, how are you not? I mean, I don't know how to word this, but I've seen even when we are meeting socially, there'll be parents who will come up and start asking you, "Can you help my child with whatever?" Or could you give me details about whatever? I mean, you never really left alone, like ever.
Yeah. So living and working in the community, the same community, that does happen. You do run into, families outside socially, and trying to, just trying to keep those separate is really important. And I think especially moving to middle school, I've been able to do that a lot better.
Yeah.
Maybe because I'm not going nearly as much to places where my child is in, and the families interact. So there is that separation right now. So
That's good to hear.
yeah.
So in your family, because you work such long hours, are you like most women in the world who's managing the family, managing the house, managing the groceries, and managing your work? Or do you have outside support, or is your spouse able to contribute enough so that you have some semblance of life?
Yes, I am so fortunate that Mr. Harman is an extremely good partner in all of that. He helps me, him and I take an equal role with Addison and doing things around the house and picking up groceries, that kind of thing. So I'm very fortunate. I have a partner who he is just very equal with me. So now
And plus, he's a teacher, right?
He's a teacher as well.
Oh, so but then he would have long hours too.
Yeah. So when he gets home, we try to focus when we're all home together on family, and then when Addison's doing her own thing, then we can go and kind of get things finished up.
And do you ever get like tired of your job? Because like mom said, it must take like a big mental toll. Do you just some days I'm like not get out of bed, sleep in?
No, I think every day is different as a school counselor, and I really enjoy it. So I look forward to every day. I've never woken up and been like, oh, I don't want to work today.
Oh.
Now there are times where I'm tired, but I always enjoy it.
And how long did it like for you to get used to the rhythms of waking up, going to school, counseling? Because I know, like we said earlier, elementary, middle school, elementary starts an hour before middle and ends an hour before.
Yes. So the change going to middle school was kind of nice because I did get to have a slower morning getting Addison to school, and I don't know. We'll see tomorrow morning how we do. I don't know if we're getting out of the house well tomorrow. We'll see. We haven't done it in 6 months, so.
Do you like your coworkers?
Love them. I have the most fun coworkers who make the really hard stuff.
And
do you get support from them?
Oh, so much. It's so neat to have partner counselors and an admin team who's amazing. Yes, so much support. If it wasn't for them.
And do you get really close to them? Like, they might be your coworkers, but are a majority of them your friends out of school as well?
I would consider them to be friends as well, and we support each other and each other's families, and they're just all really good people that I work with.
What are your favorite fidget toys / what fidget toys do you recommend?
Favorite fidget toys? Well, one is this long noodle thing that I can tie up and pull out. That's probably a favorite. I love the stress balls that have like sand in it that I can move around my fingers. Another favorite, I should have brought it, is this little mesh thing that has a marble in it. Oh, and I could just like.
We can put the links down below so our
Yeah,
viewers can check
that's
out
the links.
So are a lot of tools like this used while counseling?
Yes, absolutely. In my office, kids can come in and they can choose. Do I go to the painting board that you use water on and it disappears, or do they go and they got fidget toys? I've got a wall of sequins, not sequins, like the mermaid pillow
Oh.
material that you can write in. So yes, kids can come in and use any of that.
So besides the long hours that I feel that teachers have very long hours and I completely empathize with them. What are the other negative aspects that you see of your job?
Sure. Possibly if, I think for my job specifically with school counseling, sometimes frustration in trying to ensure that a child gets the help that they need.
Yeah.
We have an amazing team of people working to help support a child, but sometimes if you feel like the kiddo is not getting the help they need outside of school,
That's hard.
yeah.
Does your room ever get extremely messy, and how do you clean it?
My office.
Yes,
So
your
since
office.
moving to middle school, I don't have my sand tray anymore. I need kinetic sand, so that's helped a ton. And but no, I pretty much pick up as soon as a kiddo leaves. Try to just put things back. I leave it until they're gone.
And on average, what does a day like once you get to school? What's kind of your routine?
I really would have liked to shadow the person so that the viewers get an actual view of what people do. But during this time, we actually cannot do it.
Right.
This is our dog going crazy because we left her outside. We would love to hear about
Sure.
your day.
So every day is so different. It starts out the same. After dropping Addison, I go to school. I go into the building. I go into my office. I usually have a cup of tea or coffee in the morning, set up my computer and get ready, look at what I have to do for the day. And then I depend heavily on my schedule. Kids will always see me in the halls during passing periods, and I will always go to lunch with them. So that's always set into my day. The rest of the time, it might be in classrooms, meeting with kids. It might be that I'm in different meetings with either parents or teachers or administrators, and then also maybe emails or calling parents, and then or I will be meeting with kids individually.
I've seen you very prompt with emails as well, like very fast. Like if somebody emails you, and of course I have a lot of friends who've met with you and who have kids who you've mentored, and I've seen that your response is really fast. And I always keep on thinking, when does she get the time to do this?
If there's ever like just a few minutes, you go and you get it done, right?
How many kids on average do you see a day? Like a rough estimate.
I would say now in middle school, I would say, you mean individually, one-on-one?
Yeah, individually.
I would say anywhere from like 5 to 10
Oh wow,
kids individually.
that's a lot of kids, yeah.
How's it like working with some people that you don't know?
Well, I really like to meet people. And so if I don't know them, I introduce myself and try to get to know them a little bit. And if they're new to us, I'll go out of my way to make sure that I've welcomed them.
So we talked about the educational qualifications required, the university degrees required, the internships required, but we never spoke about the soft skills required to be a counselor. What, in your opinion, would be the soft skills required in a person?
Sure. I think being able to listen and process what they're saying, having the ability to guide people, being able to not take in everything they're telling you or personalize that, and then being someone who can find resources and try to help guide people using these resources. But I think also being friendly. You've got to be someone that kids and adults want to work with and like, right? Like, no one's going to go to a grouchy counselor.
What are the pros and cons of your job?
Pros, I get to work with kids. I have an amazing job. Like I get to work with kids. I get to talk with kids about all kinds of things, and I get to learn about the things that they like and they're interested in. I get to work with really neat people who also care a lot about kids. I get to meet families and, so I love what I do. The cons, I don't really have any cons except for sometimes dealing with sadness. So
So, what is the overall ballpark compensation that teachers start with and then go on as counselors?
Sure.
Because I think one of the lowest paid jobs in the US is being a teacher, despite the long hours.
Sure.
You know, I just wanted the viewers to know what your
I don't know what teachers start at. I think it's in the low 50s in our district. For secondary counselors, the range is pretty wide from $60,000 to about $80,000, $81,000. And that goes based on your years of experience.
Okay.
So if you're a brand new teacher, and you would start lower, and then as you go on, each year gets higher.
And as we're finishing up, what is advice for people who want to be counselors in the future?
Oh, the
What is
best.
the main takeaway?
Sure. I think if you want to be a school counselor, it's an amazing job and an amazing role. Work at connecting with kids, work at connecting with teachers, connect with your school counselor to ask them what they do, see what they do, work at finding a great program that will allow you to reach your goals.
So, one of the last questions I wanted to ask you was, what would you wish parents knew about a counselor, or knew how to approach a counselor, or knew not what to say to a counselor? You know, what do you wish parents knew?
I want parents to know that we want parents to reach out to us, just like we want kids to reach out to us. Our hearts are to serve others, and we want parents to reach out for guidance, to support, allow us to be a team with them, that we want to partner with them to help them and their child to reach their goals. And it's not always just about academics.
Yeah.
If a family's going through a hard time and needs other resources, we have wonderful people that we are connected with, that we can get resources to them. We can help them get into counseling outside of school. But we want to partner with parents.
Okay.
And the hardest part of my job, I think just dealing with sadness.
Yeah.
Like if there's sadness, sometimes that makes me, feel a little sad.
Thank you so much for doing this with us.
Thank you.
Thank you for coming here. Thank you for coming here. We really appreciate your viewpoint. Thank you for watching our video and spending time with us. I hope you got some insight into what a counselor's life is like, and I hope you're gentle with them, to knowing how hard it is to be a counselor in school and understand the challenges that they face. Hope to see you again soon. Have a great day. Bye.